Let's jump back into a little bit of football activity here. The MVP conversation, we just wanted to touch on it for a hair. I think we understand that there's just one person that's running. It's Lamar Jackson. Then honestly, I would say
no one else.
It'd be if you were going to conclude running backs, but we know it's a quarterback award. It's a quarterback award. Derrick Henry would be in that conversation. Who's not in that conversation anymore? We're good. It's Jared Goff.
Yeah.
Love Jared Goff, and so does Dan Orlovsky. But Dan wanted to just put that to rest himself, talking with Stephen A. Smith on First Take, where, hey, you can't come back and win an MVP, especially after the game that Jared had the other night. So let's play that clip for you.
Definitely hurt Jared Goff, no question about it. But he was so exceptional leading up to last week. If he comes back and he's exceptional over another 6-game stretch as the season goes on, I think he can overcome what happened this past weekend. But 5 interceptions in one game is definitely damaging to an MVP's hope, an aspiring MVP's hopes.
That's a ridiculous thing to say. So first of all, he's so exceptional,
What's
but
ridiculous?
still was so exceptional, still wasn't the MVP. It was Lamar. Okay, I love Jared Goff. No one's championed Jared Goff more. His MVP case is over. You don't throw 5 interceptions in primetime television and still be in that race, Stephen A. I think this weekend is going to go a long way in determining who's actually going to win the MVP. Think about it. Lamar, who is running away with the award right now, has a rivalry game against Pittsburgh. Massive moment for Lamar Jackson. Think about tonight. There's 2 guys that are very much so in that conversation. What happens if Jaden Daniels goes to Philly tonight and lights Philly up, who's one of the best defenses in the league, and wins? He's going to probably be in 2nd or 3rd place. Jared Goff is not going to catch that.
So I think just the point being, love what Jared Goff has done. He's out of that race.
He was never in it for me.
Thank you.
He was never in it for me to begin with. And yeah, Zach, you and I both have talked about this. Like, how is a guy who throws 85 yards in one game anywhere near the MVP conversation? I don't care how many completions he has in a row. And then what was the other one? He threw like 120,
145.
Right. I'm sorry. When you look at the body of work compared to Lamar Jackson and Jared Goff and even Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson is up here. The rest of the guys are right here.
Well,
like, it's not even close.
Well, the reason why is because the Lions are the best team in the NFL.
Yeah, but it's not because of Jared Goff.
In the NFC. All right, now a quick word from our sponsors at Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia. Beautiful. And they are partnered up with ESPN Bet. And if you get the app, you get $100 in Penn Play cash. Let's explain how it works. You download the app, you get $50 in Penn cash. And then if you make a $10 minimum deposit, you get another $50 in Penn cash. But make sure you register by December 31st and use the code PENNBUILDER. And that's it. ESPN Bet, what a play. But his stats, not take out the yardage, his efficiency, the passing touchdowns. If the Lions, if he didn't have that game last night and he just kept stacking up really solid stat lines, two touchdowns, no picks, 3 touchdowns, no picks, and he stacked up the touchdowns, I think he's in the conversation. But as long as someone like Lamar and the Ravens win, Lamar's numbers with how the Ravens play, even if they are 11-6, Lamar's going to win the MVP. And right now, like, there is nobody else there. He did make a point about Jalen Hurts, and I think people do need to watch what's going on with Jalen Hurts right now. I think he is still well behind, and I like Jaden Daniels too, but I think those guys are well behind. But Jalen Hurts, I got to tell you, man, if they win this game, and then they win their next week, and then they come to Baltimore to play the Ravens, and they have 2 losses on the season, and Jalen Hurts is still playing like he is, might not want to hear it, but he's going to get thrown right into the MVP conversation if he comes to Baltimore and wins that game. Starts tonight, though. And by the way, I can't wait for that game.
Bro, Jalen Hurts isn't even in the top 15 in yards thrown this season.
I'm just telling you.
I'm saying.
I'm just telling you. It's going to happen.
There's no way. There's just no way that it's even. It's Lamar, and then everybody else is going to battle for second. I just don't see how that anybody comes close to Lamar.
He's run for 378 yards, and yeah, you can hate the tush push or push in the tush. He's got 10 rushing touchdowns this year already. 378 rush yards.
Yeah, so Lamar's got almost 600.
I'm just telling you. I said you wouldn't like what I said.
I'm
just
telling you that you're wrong. That's all I'm trying to say.
So you're telling me if they win and the Eagles have 2 losses coming to Baltimore, and Jalen Hurts lights it up tonight, next week, and comes to Baltimore and lights it up, and they beat Baltimore, he's not in the MVP conversation?
That's a lot of ifs, bro.
Yeah.
I'm talking about right now. I'm talking about right now.
Right now, Jalen's not, but
Not even close.
I think he's in the, hey, maybe hot take. He's in the top 4 for me.
he's
He's in the top 4. I got Lamar, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and I'd put Jalen Hurts at 4, Jaden at 5.
I think it's one of those things where we can, if Jalen Hurts continues to play like this, we can start having the conversation about discussing the fact of maybe potentially one day having the idea of putting Jalen Hurts in the MVP conversation. I don't see it. And now real fast, when it comes to Jared Goff, he's not winning MVP because his only path, and whether you want to, fair or not, his team is around him is so good where he can throw for 85 yards and they just destroy a team. So his path to winning it was going to be, they were the best team in the NFL, finished, 15-2 type thing.
Yeah.
And he would have had to have the kind of forgettable games where you're just like looking at it, you're like, oh yeah, Jared Goff led the team. He couldn't have a game like he did on national television. Exactly what Dan Orlovsky said. The last thing he could afford to do was have a stinker on national television where now everything, no matter what, if he throws 5 touchdowns this next game, no one's going to talk about it. So unfortunately for Jared Goff, he needed to go under the radar enough to when at the end of the year, everyone looked up and was like, oh shit, Jared Goff might be the MVP because look at what they're doing. Yeah. Now everyone's going to immediately remember, wait, didn't he have that 5 interception game? Even though I'll give it to him, 2 or 3 weren't even his fault.
It was the same conversation last year with Brock Purdy versus Lamar Jackson. And then Lamar Jackson absolutely torches him on Monday Night Football.
Yeah. And by the way, you're telling me that Jared Goff's not going to stay in the running when he's 7-0 when he throws 4 more interceptions, which, by the way, is a false stat. If you guys saw that floating around social media, they got Aaron Rodgers and McAfee that Jared Goff was 7-0 when he's thrown 4 more interceptions. When you say it out loud, it even sounds absurd, but people believe
because it is.
And then the guy even said it. He's like, this is how much you can spread misinformation on social media. I just tweeted this from my couch, essentially, right? That is the reality. One thing I do want to say, and I saw this from Brandon is saying, this guy said Burrow. People don't want to admit for Joe Burrow, it's because he's not going to get higher up in the ranks because the Bengals are lower. But statistically looking, Zach, we talked about this.
He's having a season.
He's having a hell of a
dude
season.
actually, statistically, if the Bengals had the same record of the Ravens, he's ahead of Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, 69% of his passes, 2,672 yards.
Yeah, he's first.
24 touchdown passes, 4 interceptions.
He's thrown 3 more yards than Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Like it's Lamar's award, but it's to the point.
To Lamar, this goes to Joe Burrow's thrown 3 more passing yards than Lamar. Lamar's also run like 600 more yards than Joe Burrow has.
Right.
Like that's why I'm like, there's just nobody else has come close to this. If Lamar doesn't get it, then something's wrong.
Yeah, it's MV3. It's MV3, and it's about the record. It's about the record for Joe Burrow with that. That's just the reality. And that's why I was saying the point with Goff. The reason why he was in the discussion before the blow-up game is because the Lions' record and Jared Goff's efficiency was so high that people wanted to talk about it. Joe Burrow in this case, if Joe Burrow's in the Bengals had a better record, he would get more recognition because the stats are at an MVP caliber player discussion.
Yeah.
Lamar is the front. I don't think we can even discuss that even further. But Lamar, Josh Allen's my 2. Are you guys with Allen at 2?
Yeah. Right now, I think Allen's one really crazy thing too, just to kind of put a bow on this. Joe Burrow does have 3 more passing yards than Lamar Jackson does. He's also thrown the ball 47 more times than Lamar Jackson has. So it's from an efficiency standpoint too. That's just what I'm saying. Like, even if you want to break down some of these numbers, I mean, Lamar Jackson has 9.3 yards per attempt versus Joe Burrow's 7.5, and 9.3 also is nobody even comes close to that number, which is absolutely insane.
And last thing real fast, last week, RG3 got a lot of heat because he had Jared Goff as his MVP at the moment ahead of Lamar Jackson. RG3 actually just 10 minutes ago released his new MVP front runners, and they are as followed. So,
Wait, I don't know if I agree with number 5.
so there is RG3 makes it known. He said we're done with other names. The MVP front runner
Thank you.
now is
Thank
Lamar
you.
I mean,
Jackson.
it is-
There is no other person that
No.
comes close to
No.
what Lamar Jackson. It's not even I don't know why. People are just having this conversation to have the conversation. But because
yeah,
there's
no doubt.
nothing else to talk about, I guess. But Lamar, there's every stat I pull up, nobody comes close. Nobody comes close.
There is no other. There's no other stat that comes close to it. And as much as people don't want to talk about it, the reason why I brought up Jalen Hurts, people do look at wins and losses. Like you can say all you want. The reason why earlier people were getting annoyed with Lamar and then he got hot down the stretch. They're like, well, Lamar's numbers last year are average. Well, it's like, well, the team's winning. A big reason is because of Lamar and the defense.
Right.
But then, yeah, Lamar the last 4 or 5 weeks, they're like, oh yeah, this guy is good. Right now, it's the Ravens are really good. And oh, by the way, Lamar Jackson is the best version of himself, and he's 27 years old. And good Lord, good luck to the rest of the defenses. He stays healthy for the rest of his career moving forward. He might be even better at age 28 or 29.